Yo, so guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to Canada and the United States compared. And firstly, I apologise. I was supposed to post 2 videos yesterday. For some reason, I scheduled a video, and it was actually I ended up accidentally scheduling it for like the 10th of November. So I apologise for that because again, I was supposed to post 2 videos in one day, but that means I'm posting one of those videos today. So I mean, that's just how it is really. But yeah, apologies for that. If you wanted more reactions yesterday, but yeah, this is a pretty self-explanatory video, but I mean, I know the US is my most viewed country. The second most viewed, I think it changes. It's between Canada and Mexico. It sort of varies. I think Canada's just above, but yeah, I mean, because it's my most sort of watched 2 regions or my most 2 watched countries, it just makes sort of sense to look at this. And I mean, before I started doing these sort of reactions, in terms of the accents, I wouldn't have been able to distinguish. I'll be honest, I've said this before in previous videos. I've got a Canadian friend who moved to my city when he was like 15. And I initially thought he was from the US. I'm not going to lie. That's just sort of how I judged the accents. I've sort of learned over time the differences. And I mean, yeah, I've learned a bit, but I guess this would just show me more of the differences really. But yeah, hopefully you're going to enjoy this. Links in the description to my Instagram, my Twitter for those who want to follow me. Save my Patreon. A lot of Patreon exclusive videos. And yeah, if you just want to see more videos that get blocked for some reason, the links are there. Dave Chappelle's show, that's going to be a series that I'm reacting to soon. I've actually reacted to the first episode. It's crazy, man. I've never seen anything that that sort of shock factor. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, if you want more of those reactions, the links are in the description to my Patreon because they get blocked on YouTube. But let's jump into this.
This video is sponsored in part by CuriosityStream. Canada and the United States of America, the 2 biggest countries in North America.
We coexist together because we're all Canadian. We're part of Canada and we're bonding together against the common enemy, the United States.
I feel like the relationship's probably quite similar to England and Scotland. It's sort of seen as if we hate each other, but in actuality, it's a lot of the people from each country, or either country, not each, they get on fine. It's just the general consensus is we hate each other, maybe because there's a few differences in like the politics and stuff. But yeah, I guess it's probably somewhat similar like that, but we'll have to see.
What a horrible country. I live there now. They're the most un-Canadian people you will ever meet in your life.
Nah, actually, both have a lot in common. Whoa, are we really gonna do this? Okay, let's do this. Both have very close cultural and economic ties. So actually, both are 2 of the biggest countries in the world. Canada is slightly bigger than the United States.
That's
both
crazy,
share
though,
the world's longest border between 2 countries.
Oh yeah, because Alaska. I don't know if I've heard that fact before. But obviously, the Alaskan border with Canada as well is crazy.
The border stretches 5,525 miles, or, I mean, 8,891 kilometers. Yeah, while Canada has officially adopted the metric system as a whole, the United States is only one of 3 countries in the entire world that hasn't.
Madness.
That said, plenty of
shout out Canada, doing it right. I'm just playing.
Canadians
I'm
don't always use the metric system to measure stuff, and plenty of Americans do often use the metric system. Anyway, let's stick with more similarities first, okay? Both are 2 of the wealthiest, most developed countries in the world. Immigrants have flocked to both countries for economic opportunity for centuries, which is why major cities in both are some of the most ethnically diverse in the world. Both have mixed economies and have a progressive tax system on income. However, Canadians definitely pay higher taxes overall. Lots of trading be going on between the 2. The United States is Canada's largest trading partner, and Canada is consistently a top 3 trading partner for the United States. Both are in NATO and have historically fought as allies in wars. Both have lots of natural resources. Both have a wide variety of climates and rainfall cultural patterns. Both are democratic. Specifically, the United States is a democratic republic, and Canada is a parliamentary democracy and constitutional monarchy. Both are growing at the same rate. Residents of both generally like their space. Indeed, everything is more spread out in both countries. Both have mostly the same holidays. Yeah, they both celebrate Thanksgiving.
Do
but of
they?
course not on the same.
That's a surprise to me then. I did not know that. Thanksgiving is celebrated in both countries. I'm going to search actually. What country celebrate Thanksgiving? Is it just the US and... So the United States, Canada, Grenada, St. Lucia and Liberia. Where does Liberia come from? Is because... Wait, Liberia has a very similar flag to the US. Is it because there's just a link between the countries? I feel like this... I'm going to search this up as well, I'm sorry. Liberia, USA, link. Oh, not USS. Alright, I'll probably won't jump into... doesn't really answer it. I'm not going to jump into that, that's too long. But that's interesting to see. So you've got obviously a few countries in the Caribbean. And then you just got Liberia, an African country just so far away. Similarly named festival holidays occur in Germany and Japan. Okay, I see.
Same day. Americans celebrated on the 4th Thursday of November. Canadians celebrated on the 2nd Monday of October. This is partially because Americans associate the holiday more with the Pilgrims coming over, while Canadians associate it more with the Harvest Festival in general. Hey, you know what? Let's get into some history. But before we get into that, here's a word from our sponsor. Oh, me? Oh, I guess I'm the one who is telling you.
Shout out from the Editors Money, man. If you're interested, you know how it is. Go show them some love, man.
Try this out, shall we?
Get in this bag.
Okay then, let's do this. Well, the earliest humans in what would later become both countries had settled nearly all of North America by 12,000 years ago. The Norse came to North America, maybe as far south as modern-day United States, but certainly modern-day Canada, around 1,000 years ago. Throughout the 1500s, European explorers came searching for riches and to take over and convert indigenous peoples to their religion. The big three countries to explore, conquest, convert, and colonize were Spain, England, and France. The Dutch and Swedes also had small claims as well, and the Russians out west later on. Ultimately, future Canada and a big chunk of the future United States would be fought over by the British and French, while the Spanish held on to claims for another big chunk of the future United States up into future Canada. By the early 1700s, around a few thousand Spanish, 16,000 French, and 300,000 English settlers lived in modern-day United States and Canada. That alone should tell you the direction the future would go. But first, a few wars between France and Britain. The biggest one, the 7 Years' War, well, specifically the French and Indian War, led to Britain taking over all previously held French territory in mainland North America. Britain was feeling pretty good about themselves until 13 of its colonies decided to all up and declare independence a few years after this. Today, Americans celebrate July 4th, 1776 as their country's birthday, as that was the day the Second Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence. After the American War of Independence, Britain lost most of its North American colonies, but it did hold on to future Canada. Many of the loyalists during that war, or folks who wanted to stay loyal to Britain, ended up fleeing the United States to future Canada. The United States was truly an experiment. It was the first government that went all in for the Enlightenment ideals of liberalism and republicanism, completely rejecting royalty and the aristocracy, while calling for prioritizing the protection of natural rights. It was the first major group of colonies to successfully revolt against colonial rule and inspire the rest of the world. Meanwhile, in 1791, Britain established Upper Canada and Lower Canada. Lower Canada still had a predominantly French population.
What I'm saying is, so that's like Quebec and stuff. Imagine living like I don't know how cold these areas get in the winter, but I know Canada gets crazy cold. Imagine living up here in the winter, man. Like, oh my days. Imagine how cold that would be.
Still had a predominantly French population. Also by that time, there were the colonies of Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. In 1803, the United States bought Louisiana from France, doubling the size of the country. Now let's jump ahead to the War of 1812. Most Canadians today know all about the War of 1812 and love to point out how this was the war when the British forces burnt down the White House. Most Americans barely know anything about the War of 1812, so hey, Americans, why don't you educate yourselves on it, okay? Mr. Betts has just released a video about it over on his new channel, Drawn of History. Go watch it right now and come back, or watch it later or something. I don't know. This is a collaboration, okay? Yes, we plan to release these videos at the same time. It's a conspiracy. Anyway, yeah, so the future Canadians and Americans battled it out in the War of 1812, but really, it was a draw. One thing for sure, after that war, things have been relatively peaceful between the two countries ever since. Well, there was the Oregon boundary dispute. As both the United Kingdom and the United States looked to continue expanding westward, both had signed the Treaty of 1818 to settle boundary disputes and to jointly settle in Oregon country. However, as more and more American settlers came to Oregon by the 1840s, tensions got a little hot between the two. Fortunately, they resolved it with the Oregon Treaty, splitting up Oregon at the 49th parallel so that the United Kingdom got the northern half and the United States got the southern half. That 49th parallel today makes up much of the border.
Hence this strange border here.
Between the United States and Canada. I guess later there was also a dispute between Alaska and the United Kingdom as well. Once gold was discovered in the Yukon, but that was settled relatively easily. Back to the 1840s.
Getting their beaks involved in everything and then losing. My country stinks. Well, it's not actually my country. I mean, England is pretty much to blame. So, I mean, my country stinks.
The United States annexed the Republic of Texas, eventually leading to a war with Mexico, which the United States won and then got the northern half of Mexico due to winning that war. A few years later, it got its modern contiguous borders after the Gadsden Purchase. During the American Civil War, future Canada officially stayed neutral, although tens of thousands of men from future Canada enlisted to help the Union forces. Most from future Canada, after all, were against slavery by this time, and future Canada had long been a final destination for runaway slaves through the Underground Railroad. The British had gotten rid of slavery back in 1834. Anyway, a couple years after the Union was preserved and the 13th Amendment ended slavery in the United States, Canada actually became a country. Well, kind of. Mostly. They were a dominion, still technically part of the British Empire, but self-governing.
Wait, Canada's... I was saying Canada so hard for me. Is Canada still part of the Commonwealth? I don't really know what countries are in the Commonwealth. Off the top of my head, I feel like Jamaica are. But, I mean, I think that's all I know. That's honestly all I know. But are Canada still part of it?
Today, Canada Day is kind of like the 4th of July or Independence Day in the States. Canadians celebrate it on the anniversary of the Canadian Confederation being established on July 1st, 1867, in which the three colonies of Canada, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick united. So here is how Canada looked at the time. But over the following decades, it expanded dramatically, and the United States tried to expand overseas. After getting Alaska, it aggressively found itself trying to gain a bunch of islands who mostly were not too happy being taken over. Kind of like all those Native Americans who had their lands stolen over the previous 2 centuries. Canadians generally did not treat indigenous peoples much better as they expanded. Both countries discriminated against people of color, and segregation was the norm into the first half of the 1900s. Most reforms in both countries during that time system, such as women finally getting the right to vote, followed a similar pattern during that time. Canada and the United States were close allies during both the World Wars. While the United Kingdom put Canada with full equal standing with it in 1931, most Americans have no idea that Canada didn't truly become a completely independent country until 1982.
What?
After it adopted its own constitution. After World War II, both countries went
So for literally like nearly under 40 years. I didn't know that again. I'm learning a lot.
through very prosperous times and continue to follow similar paths with reforms. However, Canada went a bit further with its government programs and has been more left-leaning, and this trend continues to this day. Canada also seems to have gone in a more progressive direction earlier. For example, it legalized same-sex marriage 10 years before the United States. Today, many of the differences between Canada and the United States are linked to the fact that Canada stayed loyal to Britain for many years after the United States became a country, after breaking away from Great Britain. Most Americans love Canada. Less Canadians adore the United States, but still, they get along so freaking well. The United States has more people, a lot more people. In fact, it has 9 times as many people and has the 3rd largest population in the world. California has more people than Canada.
This stat always baffles me, man, how California alone has a bigger population than a country the size of this. I mean, you can't see it, but where my mouse is, that's the map of Canada. Yeah, I can't. It's great. I mean, I know obviously 90% of it is uninhabitable, or like just people don't live there because it's just so brutal and the conditions are nuts. But it's just crazy, man.
Remember, Canada is slightly bigger in size and is the 2nd largest country in the world by area, followed only by Russia. However, most of this area has few residents due to it being oh so very, very cold. 90% of Canadians actually live within 100 miles of the U.S. border. And yeah, let's look at the climate more closely. Canada is perhaps obviously colder, being further north, even if...
This is a beautiful picture, man. This is an absolutely... Where is this? Look at this, bro. Oh my days. Imagine living here. You're living so damn good. I bet the air is so clean here.
Obviously colder, being further
random thing to say, but I just bet it is, man.
North, even if you include comparing it to Alaska. Most of Canada's climate zones are affected by very cold air from the Arctic region. There are exceptions. Along the southwestern coast of Canada, there is mostly an oceanic climate. Much of southern Canada has various types of continental or arid climates. However, the vast majority of Canada is subarctic, and much of it is also tundra. The furthest northern areas of Canada are even permanently under ice. The United States is obviously warmer overall, but basically has every climate zone imaginable, from the rainforests of Hawaii to the tundra.
Is this in Hawaii?
From the rain...
Look at this place! Oh my... This is so... Look at that, man. This is beautiful as hell.
Forests of Hawaii to the tundra of Alaska, from the humid subtropical climate of most of the South and part of the Midwest to the deserts of the western portions of the country. Heck, you'll even see several different climate types within one state. The wettest parts of the country get as much as 275 inches of precipitation each year. On the other hand, Death Valley, which is often not only the driest but hottest place in the country, barely gets more than 2 inches of precipitation each year. Canada has just as crazy of difference. The driest parts of the country up in Nunavut get just over 3 inches of rain each year, and Henderson Lake on Vancouver Island gets more than 287 inches each year. It gets more rainfall than any other place in North America. Jeez. There are 50 states in the United States, and also a federal district, 5 self-governing territories territories and several other random island possessions. Canada has 10 provinces and 3 territories. The life expectancy is higher in Canada. Related to this, Canada has universal health care. The United States does not. Yeah, politically, the United States is more conservative on most issues. The median age is higher in Canada. Canada has 2 official languages, English and French. The majority of Quebec residents speak French as a first language. The United States has no official language, but the 2 most common languages are English.
Wait, no official language? Again, that's something I didn't know. I thought they still had an official language. Why is that? Is it just because there's so many different languages spoke here? It's just hard to say what the official one is. Please let me know that, because I wonder why that's the case.
And Spanish. The poverty rate is higher in the United States, although Canadians measure their poverty rate differently, so perhaps that is misleading. The United States also has worse debt as a percentage of GDP. However, the median household income is higher in the United States. Football, or American football, that is the most popular sport in the United States, whereas ice hockey is the most popular sport in Canada. Major League Baseball and the National Basketball League both have 29 American teams and 1 Canadian team. Those Canadian teams in both leagues are based in Toronto, which indeed is a city that feels like it actually could be in the United States. The cost of living is generally higher in the United States. At the time of this recording, 1 Canadian dollar was worth about 76 cents, meaning Americans visiting Canada get more of a better deal. Normally there is lots of movement going back and forth between the countries, but less so, obviously, during the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking of the pandemic, Canada has fared with it better than the United States. Canadians are generally less religious. For those who are religious, more identify as Roman Catholic, whereas in the United States, more identify as Evangelical Protestant.
Have no idea what the difference is.
A higher percentage of Canadians have college degrees, although the United States is known for having some of the best colleges in the world, and yeah, Canada spends more on education. Despite agriculture being much more of a big deal in the United States, more Americans live in urban areas. Sure, almost 80% of Canadians live in urban areas, but 80% of the entire country is uninhabited. Most of Canada is straight up wilderness, and it has more wilderness than any other country other than Russia. Just about 18% of the United States is wilderness. Major industries in Canada include mining, healthcare, manufacturing, and transportation. Major industries in the United States also include healthcare and manufacturing, but additionally technology and retail. According to the World Happiness Report, Canadians are happier than Americans. Canada is known for Tim Hortons.
They opened one of these in near a city near me or a town near me like a few months ago, and my Canadian friend literally drove maybe like 80 to 100 miles just to get there, and there was a big ass queue, so we had to wait for ages, and then he drove back. That's the dedication that a Canadian has for Tim Hortons. I remember when he used to always talk about it, he used to be like, oh, this is the place, man, this place is better than anything, man. And I mean, I've never had it before, so I do have to try it. But what do they sell there? Is it just sort of similar to like other cafes, like Starbucks, Costa Coffee? I don't know. Is it like similar to those? Like, it can't be much different, can it? Maybe it's like a mixture of Costa Coffee with like Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know though. I honestly don't know.
The United States is known for Dunkin' Donuts.
There we go. Like Starbucks is probably somewhat similar to this, isn't it? It also is Tim Hortons in the US.
Donuts and
Wait, that's so weird that I literally said it's a mixture of Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. What the hell? That is wild.
Starbucks. Well, dang, while we're at it, the United States is known for so many freaking brands. 3 of the 5 biggest companies.
Wait, what was that? Sorry, you can't see the screen, so I'm going to read them out. McDonald's, Facebook, Ford, AT&T, and Netflix. Yeah, big ass brands, to be fair.
So many freaking brands.
Well, should I say Meta? Whatever Facebook are doing, I don't really understand it, but Meta.
Three of the 5 biggest companies in the world, Walmart, Amazon, and Apple, are all based there. Probably the most well-recognized symbol of the United States is the bald eagle. The most well-recognized symbol of Canada, the maple leaf. Yeah. It's even on the flag. The American flag has 13 stripes that represent the original 13 colonies and 50 stars that represent the 50 states of the Union. The United States has a much bigger military. In fact, it easily has the largest military in the world. No other country even comes close. It's crazy, isn't it? Marijuana.
I've seen a lot of stats-related videos to it, and it's... Oh, but I was going to actually ask this. Is marijuana legal in Canada? It is. But yeah, to do with like armies, etc. Yeah, the US is so far clear anywhere. But it is completely legal in Canada. That's... I mean, it's not a surprise to be fair, but I was going to ask
that. It's completely legal in Canada, but in some American states, it's still illegal. Canada has less violence.
Better than the UK, to be fair. I think it's pretty much still completely illegal here, so US and Canada are different in their opinions there, or not. Different in their laws there, should I say. God damn it.
Crime. The United States has a higher percentage of its own citizens in prison than any other country in the world. That said, the United States is generally a more free place. One example of this is censorship. Perhaps due to Americans placing a high value on freedom of speech, you just hear and see more provocative and controversial stuff there. How about Canadian content, eh? The Canadian government actually requires that radio and TV broadcasters, including cable and satellite channels, have to broadcast at least a certain percentage of content that was at least partially created or presented by Canadian residents. Fortunately for Canada, lots of great music comes out of the country considering how much fewer folks live there. But yeah, American culture is more influential on the world. Throughout history, as the United States dominated mass media, it also spread its culture around the world through music, movies, TV shows, video games, and social media. There are 2 major reasons for this. 1, a spirit of innovation throughout American history, and 2, just having a huge domestic market. With the majority of Americans speaking English, they have also had access to a worldwide market of more than 2 billion English speakers. The United States is more nationalistic. If you tell a Canadian about the Pledge of Allegiance, many of them would be a bit confused, to say the least. Canada stopped making pennies. The United States still does, for some reason. Canadians generally do know a lot more about the United States than Americans know about Canada. Americans party harder. I have no scientific evidence to back this up, but it's probably true. Okay, let's try to wrap this up. Overall, most of the differences between the two are subtle, like Canadians apparently call these pencil crowns, but Americans call them colored pencils. And Canadians call these washrooms, and Americans call them bathrooms or restrooms. But honestly, folks like J.J. McCullough argue those differences are overrated. Because both countries are so dang big, and because there are so many regional differences, it's been really difficult making this video, since many of these generalizations are misleading. Undoubtedly, the United States remains a superpower in the world, and Canada is often in its shadow. However, both continue to thrive and really do depend on each other. And yeah, they really are 2 of my favorite countries. I mean, no surprise, right?
Interesting. Oh, there's more. Oh, it's the advert.
So we develop these kind of ideas of...
Shout out to this guy, man. I actually really enjoyed this video, honestly. I really enjoyed this video. The US and Canada are like 2 guys who became friends in class because they're sitting beside each other for a long time. Literally, just like, it's inevitable. We just have to become friends. I remember being in a hotel in America and asked a worker for the washroom. She sent me to the laundry room. This guy's voice always sounds like he's on the edge of telling a joke. I dig it. Americans, let's know about Canada. Canadians, let's see how much he got wrong about Canada. As a Canadian, we also sometimes use time to measure stuff, i.e. the store is 5 minutes north. Wait, what was that? My earphones just went weird. Like a fuzzy sound just went in my ears. As a Canadian, I'm impressed you got most of it right. You called it universal healthcare instead of free healthcare because we pay for it through our taxes. I guess it's universal healthcare in the UK then. I don't really know the difference, but... Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this video. Hopefully you went on to enjoy it as well. Again, there's probably a few things that are wrong here and there, but the general consensus, I assume this was all correct. But yeah, if it wasn't, let me know like things that you think are wrong, or maybe from your own opinion what you disagree with or what you agree with. But yeah, more videos like this, suggest them in the comments. And yeah, until next time, like, subscribe, peace.